Blog Talk Radio.
Wounded but not broken, with host Patrick Scrogin. As a U.S. Army attack helicopter pilot deployed in Iraq, Patrick faced a devastating crash, which resulted in him dying, losing a leg, and a slew of broken bones. Patrick's story of rehabilitation has helped others to overcome their own obstacles. Each week, Patrick recounts stories of inspiration and interviews guests who have overcome remarkable obstacles. This is Wounded but Not Broken, with your host, Patrick Scrogin.
Hello, everyone. This is Patrick Scrogin, your host for tonight's show. This is part 2 of my two-part series. I planned to get through the first part in last week, but it didn't work out that way. Sorry. I just want to apologize for the way that show ended. It wasn't really smooth, and that is absolutely my fault. And there's a couple of things after going over last week's show that I would be remiss if I did not go back and touch on them. Tonight, also, I want to just say my co-pilot in this episode tonight is Matt Listener. He's online with us. Say hi, Matt.
Hello, everyone.
And so, that being said, we'll jump right into it. I need to go back and give credit where credit is due. When I was in the 101st and deployed to Iraq, one of the biggest influencers of my, future in the military was Command Sergeant Major Montcalm. I worked directly for him, and he encouraged me all the way through putting in my flight packet and getting into flight school, and ultimately, doing everything that I did. So, big shout out to Command Sergeant Major Montcalm. He was a great influence on my career. I left off with my first sheep hunt, and I also need to back up a little bit, and I want to talk about my preparation for that and what really drove me to become the person that I was with the attitude that I had. And with that being said, my kids were the biggest influence in everything. They're young kids. They soak up everything. They're sponges. And I knew that one day that they would run into a tough time in their life, and that they could look back on me and be like, damn, look what my dad went through. I can do anything. And so we'll take that to my son. He's my stepson. I raised him since he was 3. His name is Terrence Steele. And at a very young age, I saw great potential in him playing football. He had the one thing you could not teach. He had size. He was always a big kid. He was just kind of a little bit passive. And so all through this process, especially getting hurt and leading up to the Sheep Shape show, as he grew up, in high school, he was, he was an average player. He didn't start his junior year, and that really kind of messed with his mental status a little bit. I know he really wanted to start. He was kind of overweight. He was slow. And I get the call for Sheep Shape, and the way I have tackled Sheep Shape is that was the old me. That was I can do anything and nothing's going to stand in my way. I will not fail. And so I started right away working out. Every single day I was doing something, at least for an hour and a half. And he saw that. And so he joined in with me, and this was between his junior and senior high school. And so we became workout partners, and we pushed each other. And going into his senior year, he went from 340 or 45 pounds to 280 pounds, and he was fast and he lean and he just moved really well, and he started catching the eye of colleges. He started getting his Division I college offers, which at this point a lot of people still didn't believe in him, but I've always believed in him, and I always told him, if you work hard and you have a good attitude and you're coachable, you can do anything you want to do, especially in football. That's what he can teach you. And so, he did. All credit to him. I can't take any credit for it. We just became workout partners, and that was it. And he busted his butt, and he ended up getting a full ride to Texas Tech, and he played there for 4 years. 4.5, I guess, because of the redshirt freshman. And then ultimately he went undrafted as a rookie free agent for the Dallas Cowboys. And so, now I think it's when he really kind of started believing in himself. I mean, the college football was great, but I always knew he could play at that next level, and I always pushed him to do that. And but it wasn't until he started believing in himself that it was possible. And so he did. He got undrafted. He went as an undrafted free agent, and his first year in the league, there had some injuries, and they pulled him up, and so he got thrown into the Lions' den right off the bat. You're talking the top college athletes, and he's thrown in with the top 1% of that. And so his first year, he started 13 games for the Dallas Cowboys. I think there was only 6 undrafted free agent rookies in history of the NFL to do that. He's one of them. So he's already starting to write his own destiny, essentially. I mean, he's got a great attitude. He works hard, and that's one thing that the coaches have always told me down the line. He's such a great kid. He's so coachable. He listens. He'll do what we ask, and I attribute that to the military, because he was raised in that structure, and I was hard on him, and I've been hard on all my kids, because this isn't it's a cruel world, and they got to learn how to be hard on themselves. They got to learn how to hold themselves to a high standard, and he has truly done that. And my oldest daughter as well. She's in college now, and she's killing it as well. But Terrence, he's in his second year now, and he's had an injury, or a player got in trouble, and he's at it again, and he's the improvement that he made from year 1 to year 2. That was just the work ethic, and that's what we need to instill in our kids. And that's what I've always tried to do. And so I really wanted to tell that story really quick, just to kind of give you some insight on why I push myself so hard. Because my kids have always been a really big motivation to me, because I really want them to be able to accomplish anything they put their mind to, which anybody's capable of. And so, moving on, I left off with sheep shape, and walking back from that long hunt. It was a 13-and-a-half-hour walk back. I remember getting back to that campsite, and my foot was on fire. My knee hurt, my hips hurt. I couldn't express to you how much pain I was in, enough to be life flighted out for most people, but for me, it was like bliss. I just laid down. I had a big smile on my face. I don't think I slept much that night. And there was still more of that hunt to come. I had a caribou tag as well. And the next morning, we're up chasing caribou. And my cameraman at the time, I think he was really wanting to get out of the mountains. We'd been in the mountains for about a week and a half at that point. And he, although I miss my kids and stuff too, that's my passion, is hunting. I love being in the outdoors and in the mountains. I love conservation. And to me, it's not really about the thrill kill of it, or, all that stuff that gets portrayed. For me, it's about, just experiencing the once in a lifetime views that you get to see, the people you get to meet. There is the hunting community is a super tight knit community, and even more so is the true conservationist, and that's what I consider myself, as a true conservationist. So that next morning, we're out. We climb up this mountain, and everybody's sore, everybody's hurting, and we come up on this caribou, and I don't think anybody ever wanted me to shoot an animal as bad as that cameraman, but I wouldn't shoot it because that wasn't the one we were after. It was actually bigger than the one we were after, but we were after a certain one because it was old and mature, and that's just, as a conservationist, that's what you do. You go after the old, mature animals. And so we hunted in another 2 or 3 days, and I ended up on the caribou that we were after on that trip. And I remember that walk back as well, because I carried most of a lot of that caribou in my backpack. And walking down through the marshes, I know how bad it sucked, because I'm walking along in the swamps, and my leg would get stuck in the mud, and I'd try to lift out of it, and then my leg would pop out of my prosthetic leg, and it was just frustrating. But so it was a very long walk back, very, it tested my will and my patience. But at the end of the day, that's why we do it. I mean, we want to challenge ourselves every day, and so I was fortunate enough to do 5 seasons with sheep shape. The second hunt, I was back in the Northwest Territories, and that was a fun hunt as well. Different cameraman this time, And I remember we were up in these really steep, rocky cliff mountains, and we're climbing and try to get up over the top because we had spotted some sheep, but they went over the top. And so I'm hanging on this ledge. I don't know, it's a 1,500 or 2,000 foot drop probably, and then my leg falls off. It falls all the way down to the ground. What do I do now? And so my cameraman had to buckle all his stuff up and climb down and get it for me. While I hung there for, I don't know, 30 or 40 minutes. It was pretty insane. That I was a little scared at that point, but I wasn't going to let go. So I don't know. I was just trying to enjoy the sights, I guess. But so that hunt was a successful one too. I worked really hard for that one. We ended up getting snowed in on the mountain one night. I ended up tying myself to a tree because it was so steep so I could sleep. My next sheep hunt was super, super special. And this is, this is kind of where I really started to get involved with the Wild Sheep Foundation and started doing some motivational speaking. And I was a keynote speaker at their, one of their really big events. And a gentleman heard my speech, and he donated me a tag in Wyoming for a Rocky Mountain Bighorn, which, if you were to put in for a draw for a Rocky Mountain Bighorn, it's a once-in-a-lifetime hunt. It truly is, and it was such an honor for me to get. I've had 2 tags donated to me like that, and I'll tell a little bit about the other one as well. But that Rocky Mountain it was so special, and I got to go on the hunt with a really good friend of mine, Colby Gines, and he was my guide. But I tell you, getting back, we were right on the edge of Yellowstone, and so we did the trailhead on the Cody Highway, and so it was a 26-mile horseback ride, I think, to get back into camp. And I'll tell you right now that with 38 back surgeries and a horse or a mule, whichever one you're riding, is not a very good. It's not a very good mix. It's not conducive for feeling well. You stick it out because you're doing what you love to do, and you're pushing yourself, and you always want to see how far you can do it. And so that I will say that horseback ride is probably some of the most beautiful scenery I've ever seen in my life. However long it took us, I don't even know, because time just kind of stopped for me, and all the pain and everything kind of went away for a while as you just soak up the beauty of Mother Nature. So we get back into that camp, and this was I don't know, it was kind of surreal because I'm back in there, with everything that I've been through just a couple of years after I've gotten hurt, and there was another group of hunters in there that had got stuck on the mountain one night, starting to lose focus, and their morale was starting to go down. And I saw it at dinner one night, and I even sat down with them. I'm like, hey guys, why don't I tomorrow, I won't hunt. I'm just going to come with you. I'll walk with you. And one guy asked me if I was trying to be a smart ass, and I was like, no, I mean, these hunts are so special to me, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime deal. I don't want to see you give up. But, the guy got so mad at me because he thought I was trying to be, ornery, I guess. I don't know. And it kind of made me sad because they, these guys, I mean, they had both legs. They really didn't have any injury. They just didn't have the drive or the will. And I never could understand that. And it bothers me to this day because they quit. And I couldn't understand how you could quit. That's really not a word that has ever been in my vocabulary. And so I just, it affected me on that hunt for a couple of days. And I kind of tried, it was just one of them things, I just had to get through and I had to live with. But I pushed on, and that hunt really tested me. It really tested me. So more about that hunt. We are going to break right now, a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Put your weapon next to mine. Put your weapon next to mine.
You're listening to Wounded But Not Broken with host Patrick Scrogin. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hey, right on down the line. Come on over. Come on over. What's not over? What's not over?
Attention, looking for semi-drivers nationwide. GTS Transportation of Burr Ridge, Illinois is looking to hire or partner with experienced CDL holders in every state. If you are going to drive, why not drive for the best? Whether you are driving solo, as a team, or as an owner-operator, GTS is looking to add you to their rapidly growing company. Become part of one of the most respected, driver-friendly, and successful transportation companies in America, where drivers are treated as royalty. Contact us at gtscarrier.com. Again, gtscarrier.com. Or call us at 847-754-4667. That number again, 847-754-4667. We would love to help you, which in turn helps everyone. GTS is an equal opportunity employer.
Dallas Corporation and Dallas Logistics, a proud supporter of the Veterans Radio broadcast for over 15 years. High-quality printing services and warehouse distribution have been our hallmark since 1985, serving Fortune 100 companies for over 35 years. Check us out at www.dallascorp.com.
VBN, Veterans Broadcast Network, brings you Unbroken, hosted by Patrick Scrogin. It lies within you to conquer your greatest challenges. Patrick tackles the stories of how others faced unthinkable odds, and then at a pivotal moment, a change occurred within them that gave them the strength, attitude, and direction to excel beyond the greatest expectations. Listen every week and learn how it is possible to defeat the impossible.
Welcome back to Wounded But Not Broken with host Patrick Scrogin.
All right, everybody, welcome back. I want to continue on with this story. So that sheep, I'm talking about a sheep hunt in Wyoming. It really tested me. That terrain that I was on was super rugged, super sharp, and to my knowledge, there's not been another one-legged guy that has attempted. It's important to me to kind of pave the way, because I know for me in my recovery process, the outdoors and hunting was such a huge role. It motivated me, and it really set my mind at ease. Once I knew I could do it, I knew everything was going to be fine. I was going to live my life just like I did before, and I wanted to show everybody else that they were capable of that. And because these hunts are dangerous and they're very demanding physically and mentally. If I could do it, more people would follow, and they have, and it's been such an honor. But on that hunt, I remember I did at least 2 miles uphill on my hands and knees. I mean, my back hurt so bad. It was so steep. I was clinging on anything I could cling on to make it, because we were after a certain animal, a certain sheep, and this sheep was 12 and a half years old. He wasn't going to make it through part of his left horn, which to me, I kind of laughed and made a joke, it was a match made in heaven, because I'm missing half of my left leg and he's missing half of his left horn. That's the one I have to get. And I was prepared to go home without one. And, I think on the second day, there was a Boone and Crockett ram, which is, a world-class ram, once-in-a-lifetime ram that we passed up because I was after this certain one. And that's, to me, is true conservation. I know I caught a lot of flack for that. A lot of people asked me, how could you do that? And my response to them was, if you have to ask me that question, then you don't understand conservation. So anyways, ultimately ended up harvesting that ram, and then to stay. And I just wanted to stay there and hike and go see the sights, and it was great. I got to go up on the Trident Plateau. And then later on, 4 or 5 years later, I ended up buying a backcountry bush plane, and I ended up flying up there and landed almost where I shot that sheep, and that was pretty special. But, this whole time, I really didn't want to go home because I didn't want to make that dang horseback ride back to the truck for 28 miles or 26 miles, however far it was. I wasn't looking forward to that one. But, ultimately got it all done. And, it was a successful hunt, and I'm honored and proud to be able to do that. My next hunt was, again, it was a donation tag. I spoke and raised some money for some wounded veteran organizations. Again, I was speaking at the Sheep Show in Reno, Nevada, and a gentleman donated me a desert bighorn sheep in Arizona, which, again, once in a lifetime deal. So, I guess I've always been at the right place at the right time. And that's kind of crazy for me to say that, a condition that I'm supposed to be in. A lot of people would not look at it as a blessing. And it's not that I necessarily look at everything that's happened to me as a blessing or the getting hurt as a blessing, but if you take one card, one little piece, one little segment out of my life from that March 1st, 2007 until now, my life is totally different. And, I wouldn't change anything for the world. And so I have been very fortunate, and I've overcame a lot, but I've had a lot of help, and I want to make that clear. And so this tag in Arizona was super special because I get to go on it with, I think there was 28 or 29 of my friends there. It was such a surreal experience. And, to be honest with you, that hunt wasn't super tough. I mean, Arizona's not super rugged, at least where I was at. It wasn't super tough, but it was very fulfilling. It was very awesome to be able to share that. One of my really good friends, a Navy SEAL buddy of mine, ended up, and a buddy from Canada, they flew in to watch me take that sheep, and that was special, and it meant a lot to me. And, so that was a really awesome time and a once-in-a-lifetime thing to get to do. I've done a few other hunts, most of them all televised. There's a lot of hunts in Arizona. I've shot an elk with my bow at 7 yards, bugling. That was an amazing deal. And, I think the reason I'm concentrating on this hunting so much is because this was my saving grace. This is what helped me. This is what I look forward to. This is what I woke up to. This was my healing process. And so that's a very important point, because this isn't everybody's healing process. And I wouldn't put, the thing is you have to figure out what your healing process is. You have to figure out what motivates you. You have to figure out what you want to do and where you want to make your statement. I just wanted to make my statement, sucking, climbing mountains, and in pain. I mean, but I was breathing fresh air and out of the cities and away from everything, no phones. It was just so refreshing to me. And I still do it. I still love to hunt, and I'll do it until the day that I die. But a few years later, my cameraman got an idea that he wanted to do a mini documentary on me, ironically. And we had this idea to go to New Zealand, because New Zealand's super tough, super challenging. Yeah, you can do the helicopter stuff. And we did get initially inserted with a helicopter, but, I love pushing myself, and I love living on the edge. And so we did a lot of hiking. And, that hunt was super special because, again, I got to do it with another friend that I had met through the Wild Sheep Foundation. And it was, New Zealand is a beautiful place, the mountains, and just everything's so crisp and clear. And this is the first time in my life I can say that I slept on top of a cloud, because we were sleeping on top of this mountain, and we were just above the clouds. And I have a beautiful picture of it, and it's amazing. I remember it's so cold, but I don't know. It was just such an amazing process. And after that hunt, I just felt healed. I felt like that this was my path. This is what I needed to do. I need to continue to push myself. I had so much to offer to other people, because I feel like at this point, well before this point, but I had such a great attitude. Nothing was going to get in my way. Nothing was going to stop me. I was going to continue to live life to the fullest, like, I had done it before. So to me, nothing really changed except for the way that I walk a little bit and dunk a basketball. Can't do that. you have to figure out, you just have to figure out how to do things. And it was so awesome to be challenged like that in life. And what makes it even better is I get to carry that on, and I get to help people, and I love helping people. And so I really made it a point within myself that I wouldn't ever turn my back on, anybody that needed help, not only just a wounded soldier, but anybody that felt like they had a disability. And, there's a couple of sayings that I kind of live by. Excuse me. One of them is the measure of who we are is what we do with what we have. And I think it means so much. And if you can relate to that and you can like get on that level and think that, then nothing can stop you. You can, because everybody has such tremendous potential. It's just, how do you tap into that? And another one is that it's not the disability, it's the ability. And there's so many people that have disabilities, but they don't understand how to overcome them, right? And so whether you're missing a leg or maybe you got a learning disability, maybe you're just slow and you can't run. I mean, you can classify anything as a disability, and it's learning how to overcome your disability. So that's why I love that saying. It's not the disability, it's the ability. It's the ability of the individual to overcome anything that's put in front of them. And, I think trying to spread that message and trying to help people like that. I've had so many of my friends call me late at night, asking me, man, how'd you get through what you went through? They're just in a tough place. They don't understand what's going on. They don't understand how they feel like this. And, I feel like it's an honor for me to have guys like that call me and ask me, how to help them get through their problems. And so, I feel like I'm alive for a reason. By all rights, I shouldn't be here. And so it'd be pretty selfish of me if I just kind of close my life off and just live my life within me. So I love to, I'm open to just about anybody, any advice I can give. That being said, Matt, listener, I know you're a big hunter. You got any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing those stories. Each one of those has its own caveat we could spend an hour on. But you keep coming back to something that I think is so important above the hunting, and that's really to those folks out in our wider audience, Patrick, who maybe are struggling to get over that bridge of uncertainty or despair, that still are focusing on the disability and not the ability. Is there an example, one or two, that you had that conversation with someone, and through that conversation, that person was actually able to feel and see the ability, that they were then able to go across that bridge?
Yeah, that is a great question, and that's a huge point that I'm really trying to make. I'm glad you picked up on that. But we're going to break for commercial here, and I will answer that question as soon as we're back on. I know we have a special caller that just called in, Butch Patrick. We're going to get to that in just 1 second. But after the commercial, I will definitely, if we get a word from our sponsors, I will answer that question. Thank you. That's a good one. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Wounded But Not Broken with host Patrick Scrogin.
My father was the best truck driver I've ever known in my life. Like a family tradition.
I'm a truck driver myself. I drove around the state with my cat.
To be the truck driver, you not just only see where you go, you see the world in the larger perspective.
This is a really good time to be in the trucking industry. The dispatchers get good loads for them. The equipment is very new, and then it's very reliable.
At GTS Transportation, we make dreams come true by employing truck drivers, dispatchers, mechanics, and many other occupations. Consider joining our rapidly expanding team where we put quality, human dignity, and respect back into the workforce. Contact us by visiting our website at gtscarrier.com or call us at 847-754-4667. That number again, 847-754-4667.
Dallas Corporation and Dallas Logistics, a proud supporter of the Veterans Radio broadcast for over 15 years. High-quality printing services and warehouse distribution have been our hallmark since 1985. serving Fortune 100 companies for over 35 years. Check us out at www.dallascorp.com.
VBN, Veterans Broadcast Network, brings you Unbroken, hosted by Patrick Scrogin. It lies within you to conquer your greatest challenges. Patrick tackles the stories of how others faced unthinkable odds, and then at a pivotal moment, a change occurred within them that gave them the strength, attitude, and direction to excel beyond the greatest expectations. Listen every week and learn how it is possible to defeat the impossible.
Welcome back to Wounded But Not Broken with host Patrick Scrogin.
To Wounded But Not Broken. Right before we went on break there, I had a great question. Matt, I just want to make sure I got that question correct. It's can I name a time where my experiences have helped somebody else get through their experience? Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Their own fog of war. How did you help clear that up for them?
Okay, I can. There's plenty I could talk about, but I'm going to talk about one specifically. It was a very high-ranking officer that I knew very well, that I'd done a lot with in the military, that knew me very well. We had shared some very intense moments together. Got a call about 2 a.m, and I just knew when I looked at that phone and it was ringing with his name on it, I just knew something wasn't right. And it's very important for me to say, I mean, as soldiers, when we're put in battle to do a job, it's never without consequences. And so whether that's a physical injury or it's mental, and a lot of it's mental, and really the wounds that you can't see are the ones that hurt the most. And so that was a prime example of this case. And he was just having a very, very, very hard time. He was talking, about not being able to go on, and he just had a baby, and he was just struggling. And I sit there and talked. We talked for 6.5 hours, and we ended up talking over the period for the next couple of days. And that's because he didn't feel comfortable sitting down and talking to a shrink or psychologist. Sorry, but he didn't. They can't relate. And me being in that position, I can see. You feel like you're being judged, right? And so I think with him talking to me and going over some of the experiences that we lived together, and telling me some of the experience that he had, after I was hurt, and how me being hurt affected him, I think that really, it helped him. I mean, just my positivity and saying, listen, dude, I wouldn't change anything that happened to me. I'd go do it again right now. You asked me to go, I'd be on an airplane right now doing the same thing I did, even if I knew the outcome was going to be the same or worse. I would do it. And that's what makes this the greatest country in the world, is because we have the ability to choose to do that, and we're not forced to do it. And so going through that, it really helped him. And ultimately, after talking to me and getting some of that stuff out, he did go talk to a professional, and he got through his things. And, he called me a few months later and just, in tears, just crying, saying, man, thank you, saved my life. And, I really appreciate it. I mean, that's one of the best examples I could give of that question.
Thanks, Patrick.
I want to say that we have a special guest on right now. I'm going to give a quick story on how him and I met. My fiance organizing a car show in Sycamore, Illinois, and I was flying by with my family and my fiance, and we ended up landing and going to the car show, and Butch Patrick was there from the Munsters. And so I got to meet Butch Patrick, and we talked for a little bit. He was pretty busy, so we couldn't talk that much that time, but we talked, and first of all, I owe this podcast and everything that's happening right now, and me being able to get my word out to my fiance's dad, Blaine. And Blaine introduced me to Butch Patrick, and Butch Patrick made a call to get me on this podcast with Mark Eli, and here we are. And so that's just one of the things that, in my opinion, I think good things happen to good people, and positivity is contagious. I think my positivity and being positive about everything I do, I think it's contagious, and I just think it puts me in the right place at the right time. And this is a prime example of it. Butch, are you here?
Yes, I'm here, Patrick. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Fine. I was listening to you, and I totally concur and wholeheartedly agree that the positive energy finds other positive people.
I mean, you know, I don't know. It just seems like it's that's just the way it works. You know, if you live your life in negativity, I mean, you more than likely it's going to turn out negative.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's you're sounding great, and I've been picking up on the story, so I'm really, really happy that you met some of my guys over there. They're wonderful folks, and it's a good fit for everybody. So I couldn't be more happy.
There it is, man. It's a good group of people, and you know, it's awesome being able to be put on this platform to touch so many people and help out so many people. But hey, Butch, if you would, I know you do a lot for veterans. Can you just give us a rundown? You know, maybe a quick overview of everything that you've been through in the last few years and kind of how you got into helping veterans and what you like to do?
Well, you know, actually, it's you know, I'm a big fan of Gary Sinise. Gary Sinise did so much, you know, Forrest Gump and his foundation. And whenever I see, I get a lot of guys coming out when I do my personal appearances. There's a lot of guys wearing caps from various wars and various veterans, and it's always a pleasure to meet the veterans and thank them for their service. And when Trump got elected and the Patriot thing started happening, and you know, when I was a kid, I was actually in the last year of the lottery to go to Vietnam, and I had a very low number, and I thought I was going to go to war, and I went up for my medical evaluation for the induction, and they found out that I was unfit for service due to a knee injury that I wasn't aware of. But I lost a lot of friends, and ever since then, I've always had a very much respect, a lot of respect, and a soft spot in my heart for veterans. So when I met Mark, I said, wow, you know, I would like to do more because I'm going to be doing this YouTube channel featuring a lot of the people my age are veterans. So it was just a good fit. So one thing led to another, and then when I met you, and you know, you stepped around the table, and I saw your leg, and I just said, wow, this is just like the planets are aligning here in a really cool way, because Lance for years has been doing a lot of good stuff, veteran affairs, out of his studio, and I've known Lance since 1990. So it just feels right, and I'm glad that it's gaining traction for me and for everybody else associated with it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. You know, I really, you know, thank you for everything that you've done. But what do you think? What do you think as a community that we should do? I mean, you know, everybody has their own opinions. I have my opinions. I've got my things. But as a community, what do we need to do better for wounded soldiers and to be better Americans?
The program that Mark has put together is incredible. I mean, that's right there. There is money available, and he's created a system to be able to tap into it and help people that can't help themselves and aren't aware that it's out there, because a lot of the veteran benefits are just difficult to get if you don't know where to look and how to do it. So the idea that he's making it available for people that need it, to me, is a huge, huge first step.
Right. Yeah, and I know that you'd mentioned Gary Sinise, and I think, you know, as a country and a population, we should look up to that man. He is probably one of the most selfless human beings on the face of the planet. That man has done so much for wounded veterans that you know, you don't even know where to begin.
Well, you know, absolutely. You know, since I didn't make it into the service, but one of the things that I'm very proud of what I've done is a lot of veterans like myself had alcohol and drug issues. You know, a lot of people got wrapped up on drugs because of their pain or whatever, or for trying to self-medicate because of PTSD. And when I got sober nearly 11 years ago, one of my favorite things to do is to try to help fellow addicts and alcoholics and people who are in trouble to try to seek help. And that's one of the things, the networking and helping people myself. That was the guy that got me sober. He said, in 22 years, I've saved 8,000 people. He goes, if I can get you sober and it works, you can go on television and help millions. So that's kind of my calling and my cause, is to help people. And it just so happens a lot of those people I'm helping happen to be veterans.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I can relate to that too. You know, going through everything that I've been through, as easy and
Sure.
as accessible as the drugs were. You know, I talked about it a little bit on the first episode. You know, I got super addicted to some very, very strong painkillers, Dilaudid, Oxycontin, Methadone, and you know, I feel for anybody.
Well, it was
to
not to get into a huge debate over it, but unfortunately, you know, the almighty dollar and the pharmaceutical companies, they made it very easy for that to happen.
I agree 100%. That's probably for another segment as far as getting into that almighty dollar and what drives our the things that happens in this country. But I think at the end of the day, looking back to September 11th and seeing how unified the country was, that's awe-inspiring. I mean, that doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. But if you look at how quick that has tapered off, and when you look at us now,
one of the things that I travel a lot, as you know, and most of my travel is driving because of my Munster coach and my trailer. I fly in occasionally, but most of my driving takes me through Middle America, and the things that I find that are going on right now that I don't like mostly happens in cities, and the Middle America and the Great Plains and all the people in the small towns throughout the country. There's still a lot of patriotism out here. Believe me, there's a lot of people that will be there when things get tough. Don't count us out. But the 911 thing and the patriotism is still strong, but it's in the middle America in the small towns.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I live in Middle America in a very small town, and I agree with you. I really do. I think it's unfortunate that it doesn't get portrayed that way. That's kind of another story as well. But for the overall, I mean, I think there's so many people that are so grateful, and I think for the listeners that are listening, if I could just give one piece of advice, if you see a soldier, whether he's hurt or not, or you think, or whatever, like I said, the wounds that aren't seen are the ones that are the worst. And if they're a soldier, I mean, I know that my fiance and I do it, and I've had it done to me. Just if you're out having a meal and you see that, pay for their meal. I mean, I do it, and I've had it done.
Yep.
And it's the little things. The little things, all them little things add up. They add up to one big thing, and that goes back to the positivity and just being thankful for our veterans.
Just acknowledging them, just the acknowledgement, yes, a meal or just a thank you. I mean, any form of acknowledging that they're not invisible.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. As human beings, we want to know that we're supported. We want to know that people are standing behind us, and that's the reason that I came home to when they did from Vietnam. It's because the old Vietnam vets weren't going to let that happen to us. And, if I'm around next war, I'll be damned if I'm going to let it happen to them. That's the thing. You pay it forward, and it all comes back. But we're going to pause here again for a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Thanks for listening.
Put your weapon next to mine. Put your weapon next to mine.
You're listening to Wounded But Not Broken with host Patrick Scrogin. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hey, right on down the line. Come on over. Come on over. What's not over?
Attention, looking for semi-drivers nationwide. GTS Transportation of Burr Ridge, Illinois is looking to hire or partner with experienced CDL holders in every state. If you are going to drive, why not drive for the best? Whether you are driving solo, as a team, or as an owner-operator, GTS is looking to add you to their rapidly growing company. Become part of one of the most respected, driver-friendly, and successful transportation companies in America, where drivers are treated as royalty. Contact us at gtscarrier.com. Again, gtscarrier.com. Or call us at 847-754-4667. That number again, 847-754-4667. We would love to help you, which in turn helps everyone. GTS is an equal opportunity employer.
Dallas Corporation and Dallas Logistics, a proud supporter of the Veterans Radio broadcast for over 15 years. High-quality printing services and warehouse distribution have been our hallmark since 1985, serving Fortune 100 companies for over 35 years. Check us out at www.dallascorp.com.
VBN, Veterans Broadcast Network, brings you Unbroken, hosted by Patrick Scrogin. lies within you to conquer your greatest challenges. Patrick tackles the stories of how others faced unthinkable odds, and then at a pivotal moment, a change occurred within them that gave them the strength, attitude, and direction to excel beyond the greatest expectations. Listen every week and learn how it is possible to defeat the impossible.
Welcome back to Wounded But Not Broken with host Patrick Scrogin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Wounded But Not Broken. We're on the phone here with, we got Matt Listener on the line and Butch Patrick. And Butch, I got a couple more questions for you. Is there anything you're doing now that we should know about? I understand you got something going on with cemeteries or something. Can you tell us about that?
Well, when I was traveling cross country, my filmmaker partner suggested that I should go visit interesting cemeteries about famous people and produce a show called Coast to Coast. And the first one I went to when I first started was Frances Farmer, who was an actress in the 30s and 40s who was diagnosed with mental illness, and she went from a huge Hollywood starlet to a very sad state of affairs, and had like electric shock therapy done to her and this and that, and pretty much it was a tragic story. Jessica Lange played her in a movie called Frances. I've then gone to Corral, who was the king of the Godfather of the Road Show for CBS back in the 60s and 70s. I love traveling the country, and my show is kind of dedicated to him. I visited his grave along with Dean Smith, who was the college basketball coach. And then I also went and saw Ava Gardner. And a lot of my stepdad was a professional baseball player. He's buried next to Roger Maris up in Fargo, North Dakota. So as I travel around, it's interesting to see places. I was just in Springfield and Abe Lincoln, Springfield, Illinois. Boy, and what a museum and what a monument. So yes, I do stop along the way and do interesting stories on interesting people of interest.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really interesting. So is there anything else you got going on? I know you're a busy man. I know you're always doing something.
Well, right now I just got off the plane. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm going to be filming a Halloween special here at a Monster Museum in about an hour right after I'm done with you. And then I'll be touring the country. If you go to munsters.com, my schedule is listed, and I do have a couple of TV shows in the works. So Rob Zombie is doing the Munsters movie. Everybody is a buzz about that. It's going to be a big feature release next year featuring Rob Zombie doing a very cool Munster movie. And it's a good thing to be Eddie at Halloween, Eddie Munster. And the Munsters is a very timeless show that's got a great fan base, so I couldn't be happier.
Hey, man. Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, and thanks for taking time out of your day to do this. I know you're super busy, and, I'll give you a call in a week or so, and we'll get.
Absolutely, Patrick. Great show. Thank you.
Thanks for everything you do.
Bye-bye.
See you. All right, everybody. So Matt Listener and I, we're just going to – actually, we can go ahead. If anybody wants to call in, we got about 10 minutes or so left of the show, but we're just going to have Matt and I are going to have some dialogue. But if anybody wants to call in, you can call in at 516-453-9948. That's 516-453-9948. If you want to call in with any questions or anything that I can answer, just feel free to call in. Hunter as well, huh?
Yes.
What have you been on any sheep hunts?
No, that's why I'm friends with you.
I'd love to go with you, man. I walk with you.
Yeah, we'll put that together. But I just your stories about the sheep hunts, and I got my moose up in Alaska, and you're spot on. The kill is only 5% of really the excitement. 95% is just being under God's umbrella, experiencing nature to its fullest.
Military, I mean, because you go in, you might go into a camp in Alaska or in in Northwest Territories or British Columbia, and you don't know any of these guys, but in 5 minutes everybody's cutting up, and you're brothers, and it's like you've known each other for years, and that's such an addictive thing. It's so awesome. You just can't find that everywhere.
Yeah, and you're also spot on about conservationists, passing up that prize bull or what have you, going after what you set your sights on. That's true discipline and also true respect for the art.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't. They just don't understand that. I've had death threats and everything, and I've actually if I get a bad comment or something, I'll actually reach out and try to have conversation, and try to educate as well as I can. Some people you can't. They just don't want to hear it, and they got their own views, and that's fine, and they're entitled to that. But I don't know. I just think that, nowadays people are so quick to judge just because they don't agree with something. So they don't agree with it. They think you shouldn't. But
judge because they're ill-informed. Going back.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I
stepped to you.
Going back. Yeah, going back on all these caveats, these stories, how you've helped. Do you have any, 24, 36-month goals with what you're doing and this platform you have and who you want to reach to?
Yeah, I think, I'm all about goals. I've set goals for myself my entire life. Some I attain and some I do not. And, that I always try to talk about, you got to learn how to fail before you can learn how to succeed. And we learn more in failure than we ever do from success. And so, I can sit here and tell you every time I've ever failed in my life, but I can't sit here and tell you every time I've ever succeeded. And so, yeah, I'm all about goals. With this, the goal was, to get I do little goals. I don't go with the giant ones. I go little, step by step, and they always get higher and higher and harder to achieve. But, with this, it was just, story the best I could. And now to get through this one and hopefully, continue to grow the following. I have some great friends that are going to come on the show with some great stories. I have some really good ideas for how I kind of want to take this. It's not going to be just a bunch of wounded guys talking and telling their stories, although we need to hear every story. And that's one of my big motivations is with that World War II and early Vietnam era guys, them great stories, them super inspiring stories of heroic values are leaving us, because unfortunately, and I don't want that to happen with my generation. If you have a great story, I want to hear it. And that, that I'm just going to go ahead and say this now. And if anybody's listening and they know of somebody that has a story that needs to be told or wants to tell the story, you can email me at patrick@veteransradiohour.com. It's patrick@veteransradiohour.com. Email me and, let's get started. I'm not going to concentrate just on, you don't have to be a veteran to be inspirational. And we got some stories in the works, or I have some stories in the works that aren't from veterans, or from just their life and just come under an unfortunate accident and, and they've they've thrived through it. They've pushed through it. And, just, you don't have to be a military guy, but I do have a lot of military friends that were hurt and, both mentally and physically, and we're going to hear a lot of them stories too. But this show is unlimited. I want it to be informative. I want to help people. If anybody has any questions of me or I can help in any way, just shoot me that email and, I'll get back with you as soon as possible. But as far as the sky's the limit with this thing, with podcasts the way they are, as accessible as they are nowadays, the amount of people you can touch, the amount of people you can get involved. Sky's the limit. I would say Joe Rogan, but I think I'm going to be bigger than him. So we'll see.
I like that.
But, yeah, it's such an honor for me to be able to tell my story like this, number one, but it's going to be even more of an honor for me to bring other people in to tell their stories and how they overcome them, because as we all know, there's multiple ways to skin a cat, and just the way that I overcame my thing, it might be completely opposite from the next guy, and we can all learn here.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point. Those precious stories from our veterans from World War II and the Korean War. Now we're moving into the Vietnam War. There were stories about self-sacrifice, and because of the development of our psychology, we're now using those stories to help other people, which obviously your platform is. So that's so vitally important to continue this.
It is, and these stories got to go on. I know some World War II stories that didn't get told that are just amazing. But hey, I think we got a caller to call in. Okay. We're gonna patch him in here and talk to him.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, this is Nathan in Orlando.
How you doing, Nathan?
Pretty good. Can you repeat your address? I'm going to send this to some people. I'll copy you on it, and let them know about your show. And these are people that have a history in the military and they're active with veterans. reaching out to our veterans. I'm just going to send your show to them and have them archive it, but you'll get a copy of it. Can you repeat that email again?
Yes, sir. It's Patrick.
Got it. Okay. Is there at?
Yeah, Patrick. It's Patrick with the at symbol, and then veterans. Yeah, Patrick.
Okay. Does the at come after our?
No, the at comes after Patrick.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, Patrick at veteransradiohour.com.
Okay. I will. While you're even still talking, I'm going to send it to a couple of people.
That sounds good. Yeah, we're about to wrap this show up, but I tell you what, you send out that email and tag me in or CC me in on it, and I'd love to get to talk with them and hear their stories. And
okay, and also I got one of the owners of my company is a retired Navy admiral, and I'm going to send him your company and have him listen to this for the sake of considering advertising for drivers on it. I drive a gas tanker here in Central Florida. He might want to do some advertising.
Oh, that sounds good.
Okay, so that's Patrick at veteranshour.com.
Veteransradiohour.com.
Okay, I'm glad I read it. Veteransradiohour.com.
Yes, sir.
I'll get that in the mail to you, sir.
All right. Hey, thank you, Nathan. I really appreciate it.
Yes, no problem.
Yep, thanks for listening. Have a good night. All right, Matt. Let's see. What were we talking about before we had the call?
Well, we're just talking about different goals and what you want to do with it. And there's an example. It's not necessarily a story, but your platform's providing this outlet for future growth of people that are in need.
Yeah, I think that again, I'm always gonna take care of my military buddies. There's some great stories that haven't been told that I'm gonna make sure get told. But there's a really big story that we're gonna work on. A lady out of Kansas about the disabled wheelchair games. We're gonna do a big story on that. But pretty much, this show is about inspiration. I want to touch people's lives. I want people to understand that no matter what, you're never out of the fight. No matter how you're feeling, no matter how you're down, no matter what's going on in life, there's always a way out of it, and it can always be better. And that starts with positivity. And I don't know. I think this could be unlimited. I think this can be such a great platform to touch so many people, and that's really what I want to do. I want people to listen to these and get off the waves and be like, man, I learned something tonight. But
absolutely.
But we'll see. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in for this episode 2 of my story. Next week we're going to have another great story with a buddy of mine on here, and you all have a wonderful evening and a great week. Well, thank you.
My father was the best truck driver I've ever known in my life, like a family tradition.
I'm a truck driver myself. I drove around the state with my cat.
To be the truck driver, you not just only see where you go, you see the world in the larger perspective.
This is a really good time to be in the trucking industry. The dispatchers get good loads for them. The equipment is very new, and then it's very reliable.
At GTS Transportation, we make dreams come true by employing truck drivers, dispatchers, mechanics, and many other occupations. Consider joining our rapidly expanding team where we put quality, human dignity, and respect back into the workforce. Contact us by visiting our website at gtscarrier.com or call us at 847-754-4667. That number again, 847-754-4667.
Dallas Corporation and Dallas Logistics, a proud supporter of the Veterans Radio broadcast for over 15 years. High-quality printing services and warehouse distribution have been our hallmark since 1985, serving Fortune 100 companies for over 35 years. check us out at www.dallascorp.com.
VBN, Veterans Broadcast Network, brings you Unbroken, hosted by Patrick Scrogin. It lies within you to conquer your greatest challenges. Patrick tackles the stories of how others faced unthinkable odds, and then at a pivotal moment, a change occurred within them that gave them the strength, attitude, and direction to excel beyond the greatest expectations. Listen every week and learn how it is possible to defeat the impossible.